Hey guys, Michael Chassis Parts Online again. We're out here at my shop. It's kind of cold outside today, Sunday. We're looking at my 66 F100 long bed chassis. This is the one I use for prototyping. And yes, it is outside. We're about to move the shop to a place about an hour and 20 minutes north of here. And it's got a building out next to the house. Now I could have this table and my other chassis table inside, so I don't have to do that stuff out in the cold. Anyways, I used these spreader bars on this chassis. I got a drawing from Ford online, hope it's right. Center line of here, the center line of the other bumper hole, and I use these threaded rods to adjust it and make it right as close as I can get it. So obviously all these chassis are different, as you know, probably. They're all going to be hardly different widths, and some of them may be cross measured and come out not square. I got this one as square as I can get by putting studs here and measuring from these to that corner and from that corner to the other stud over there. Then I took a porta power to it and kind of tweaked on it a little bit to get it square. Anyways, today we're here to talk about the frame boxes. This is the old style frame box that I've been using. Now this is probably the third, fourth, fifth design since I started. I just kept tweaking this design to make these better and also to make them easier to build, because I'm trying to make a living off of this stuff. I'm not trying to get rich off these cross members, but I got to make something. So the way I was doing these is I've got a jig that's got these 6 holes. Those 6 holes right there, they're the same as that, upside down obviously. Same 6 holes on a table in there. And I bolt these 2 tubes down. I use a square to put these together, and these have tabs. These have a slot here, slot going the other way there, slot this way here, and slot going the other way there. In the bottom, the tabs are opposite, so that these can't even be put together wrong. This is the top piece, and the holes are wider, and it can't be put together wrong. As you can see, the 2 top holes are narrower in between, right there. So if I put this together wrong, like I did when I first made a couple of these, it's not good. Anyway, so I made the tabs wider where they won't even fit together. Anyway, to make this, I have to bolt this down to the table, bolt these down with a bolt down through it, tack them down, and then weld them. Okay, and then to do these square nuts here, I used to have some round ones, and they were kind of expensive. But I found these weld-on square nuts. These are made to be welded, so they don't distort when you weld them. And they're working better than the round threaded bungs I had, because those were some type of material that doesn't weld very good, and you have to use a rod made for welding regular steel to stainless steel. And steel, I had a couple of those when I was trying to weld them crack, so I had to switch back to a regular rod on those. Anyways, I quit using those and started using these. But I still have to put a bolt through here, through that round hole there, to hold that down where I can tack those on. Same thing for the bottom. I had to flip it over and do the same thing. And then take the bolt out. And of course, even tacking it, the bolt gets pretty hot. So, this frame box, if you guys don't know, this is the 65 to 79 chassis, has those 6 holes. And that's where the coil spring pocket was originally when this thing had I-beams, okay? So, as I said, this is your center line right here, right down the middle. So this hole is not on the center line, okay? It's off. But the 2 bottom holes are right on the center line. So, basically what I did here was, when that sets there on the inside like that, that hole lines up there, but that hole does not. But if you spun it around for the other side, that hole would line up and the other hole would not. So basically, when you get your upper arm mount to put on here, you're going to have a hole here that you're going to have to drill. And if it's for coilovers or for bags, there's a hole back here and a hole up here that'll also have to be drilled. And it bolts onto those 4 holes. Now the strut version that uses a mount sort of like that sticking up, and has the factory strut sticking up, has an ear that comes down onto this plate, so it uses these 6 holes to brace it, and then has these 2 holes that one there you line up, the other one you got to drill. So I'm going to stick this in the frame so you see how it goes. Most of you guys already know because you've done them before. Okay, that basically goes in there about like that. It's kind of hard to line it up. Okay, but then you could take a reamer, like a bridge reamer, and ream that hole, and ream that hole. Of course, you're gonna have to ream all the other frame holes too, because all these holes are 7/16 when they had rivets in them. So you're gonna have to ream them anyway. You can use a drill bit, but it's a lot better to use a reamer. Basically, put you a couple bolts through there. Make sure this one's lined up. If it's not, ream your upper and lower holes. And you're gonna have to drill this hole right here we talked about. Okay, that's how they fit, and that puts the box flush, basically, with the inside of the frame. The inside of the frame should be about 29 1/8 wide. Now your frame could be 29 1/16, or it could be 29 1/4 or something. I mean, you may need to go pull your frame in or out to get the section to sit down in there, but once you get it, you can pull it together, and you can take your spreader out of the front. That's why I don't like to put a weld-in spreader across there, because when you go to put this in, it may not be right. So consider that when you do yours. If you're gonna put something in there that clamps in there, or you can put something that bolts into those bolts on both sides, it might be better than welding, but most of the time welding probably would work fine too. Anyways, that fits there. Okay, the center cross member has a plate that fits those same holes, fits down in here and goes across, and the other box goes on that side. Okay, but as I said, these are a bitch to make. This surface right here on the top is what touches under here, and these two touch the frame here. So you've got structure across here, in the middle here, and down here. Okay, well, I decided to change these up, and this is the new version. Okay, now this one here has the top come all the way flush, and I couldn't come all the way to the end because it would set inside that corner on the inside, and I wouldn't, these holes wouldn't line up anyway. So I made these end boxes come all the way to the end, so they go inside here, and on the inside of this box you got structure along here and along here pressing against here, plus you've got your bolt hole on the top and bottom, and that's the bottom anyways. So that fits in there the same way. Line that hole up there, your holes line up there going through, and your bottom holes will line up as well. Okay, if this hole doesn't line up on your frame, you may have to ream it a little bit. As you can see, I've had to ream this one a little bit, and I used to use the two holes, but that mean that plate had to be one way or the other when I put it together, and I put a couple of them together wrong. I had to throw them away for scrap. So also, these square nuts, I just had a laser cut square hole put in this metal. So all I got to do is set it in there on the jig on a flat surface, and set these in there, tack them in, and then weld them. Same thing with those. Same way, just sink them in there, flush them, and weld them. That makes it easier where I don't have to put a bolt through it. Plus, as you can see, this one here, the metal is 1/4 thick, where that is 3/16. So these are a little bit heavier, but they are beefier, and I think they will be stronger for the frame since you're bracing vertically. You already got, this is the strong part of the frame here. That's why it's bent there to be real strong. You got strength there and there with this in there, and I don't need those crush tubes in there anymore because you're close to the edge here. So as I was said before, on the other one, I left these ends open so you could run lines through here, brake lines, fuel lines, hoses, whatever you needed. And I did the same on this. Now this is a prototype box. The production box has actually 3 holes here, okay, and 3 holes on the other side. So there's plenty of room to go through there. And on the production version, I've got a big hole in the middle here to take some of the weight out. It's like a 3-inch hole. Take some of the weight out of that thing. Okay, let's go in the shop while it's cold out here. And by the way, I just painted this box red just to do the video. I'm going to do a video also installing those. I've got to I've got to ship the rest of these. This is the last. This is the last of those, that version. I think I've got a couple more out in the shop. I've got to put the center these in and weld the nuts on, and then that'll be the last of that batch of those. And then we switch to these. I've got new ones of this version at the laser cutter on the way to me. And as you guys probably know, I use Sand Cut Sand. They're great. Also, another thing I want to go over with you today is this is the last of this version of the upper control arms. This is the non-adjustable version. This is the original version that I had, that I tweaked the design of. Kept tweaking because tweaking. I'm not really a tweaker, obviously. The crossmember goes like this. I mean, the aluminum does. I mean, it gets real close to this as you raise it up. Okay, but it does clear fine. But this does not come. This will not work very well on 16-inch wheels like Crown Vic wheels, because the rim gets the edge of the rim, the wheel gets real close to here. So I'm phasing this out in favor of the version where the tubes come up to the ball joint plate and go across, sort of like my adjustable arms. So basically what we're using is we're going to use the same ball joint plate as the adjustable arms, where it drops down and comes over, but instead of having an adjustable deal here, you'll have a bushing there with a polyurethane bushing with a washer on either side, depending on the chassis. Now, some of you may not know this, but the aluminum crossmember, it comes in at least 2 versions. Okay, and where this mounts at, on some of them it's 7 and 15/16 or thereabouts, and on some of them it's 8 and almost 1/8 of an inch across. Okay, now some of them will have a little washer spacer that goes on there to take up that space, and some don't. So with mine, I ship, you got a poly bushing that goes in here, but I got a washer that goes on the inside, and I got a washer that goes on the outside, and there's an extra washer, a thin washer, in case one of those doesn't fit. Now, so some of these aluminum cross members, you may put that poly bushing in here, and it may go right on to the aluminum cross member without the washers. You may need one washer. You may need 2 if you got the narrow one, but they'll all be in the box. But as we phase these out, we'll switch to the new version. There's only like 3 or 4 more orders open that I've got for this version. Then I'll switch to the new version on the new jig. But that's it for today. Peace.